Hey, whiskey friends. Did you know that there was a whiskey rebellion in 1794? Well, we're going to talk about that, see what it was all about, and we're going to continue on our journey of the three categories of bourbon. Stay tuned and buckle up. Hey, bourbon friends. Let's continue on the journey to determine which category of bourbon fits our palate the best. So, again, uh, Evan Williams Bottle and Bond, Four Roses Small Batch, and Maker's Mark Straight Bourbon are our three bourbons representing the three different categories. And we're going to try these and see if we come up with the same results. I hope you're doing this at home. Um, the key is not to get into a rush. Take your time. Uh, it's going to be a while. It's going to take some time to really train your palate, to understand your palate, and connect your mind with your taste. So let's get into it. I'll start from here. That's pleasant. It's got a little bite to it. I would say maybe a little bit of banana and red fruit. So let's put this in first place. Try this one. Ooh, a lot of flavor. I'm getting a like a strong oak, almost a bitter oak on this one. So we'll put this one in second place. Let's try this one. Yeah, it's got a bit of a different oak. Um, let me flush with some water just to cleanse my palate a little bit. Yeah, it made a big difference. Um, Sweet caramel. I'll just leave it at there. So a caramel. I might even bring this one here to second. Still, this one's first. I want to go back to this first place. Yeah, that's a nice smooth, sweet, little bit of oak, maybe some vanilla on that one. Still gonna leave that in first. Let me try this one. Wow. That one's pretty good. I'm going to rinse my palate and take a little bit of time. Give my palate just a little bit of a rest. And let's talk about the Whiskey Rebellion of 1794. So, after the Revolutionary War, uh, President George Washington needed to pay for the war debt. And so, what he did was he imposed a tax on distilled spirits. Now, if you remember in one of the prior videos, I told you how uh, George Washington had switched the the spirit of choice for the troops from rum to whiskey because the rum was so highly taxed and controlled by Britain, and he wanted to free up that taxation. And so he switched to whiskey. Well, now, after the war, after the Revolutionary War, now he's going to tax it again. And this time he gets to keep the taxes, he gets to collect the taxes, he gets to use the taxes. And in 1794, in western Pennsylvania, which is where most of the spirits were being distilled at that time, remember there was a big Irish, Scottish, Welsh type community in Pennsylvania, and they are the ones that brought over the distilling of whiskey. We talked about uh, Ishkabaha, which is the Irish name for whiskey. That's what they called it, the water of life. Anyways, I go off on a tangent sometimes. I get excited about this stuff. So, anyways, these Western Pennsylvanians uh, formed a rebellion, and there was quite a number of them. And so, what they would do when the tax collectors would come, they would tar and feather them. They would intimidate them. A few times they just ran them off or killed them, and so there was a big problem there. And so what President Washington did is he formed up uh, a group of soldiers numbering about 13,000, and he led them into western Pennsylvania to squash this rebellion. Well, it worked. And by the way, that was the very first time that a sitting president ever led troops into a conflict. And so that eventually squashed the rebellion. There was no more rebellion. Um, and then in 1802, I believe, Thomas Jefferson, who was then president, repealed that tax, so it was no longer. But in the meantime, most of those Western Pennsylvanian distillers had moved south down into Kentucky. And so that's how uh, the spirit of bourbon uh, whiskey moved from the north down into the south primarily. So, anyways, hope you found that interesting. Again, that just gives you another talking point with your bourbon buddies, and it's just fun. It's fun to know these things and to be able to talk about them. So let's get back into this. I'm going to do one more round, and I'm going to declare a winner. So let's start here with what I think is number three. Hmm. You know what? This is funny, but now I'm going to move that to number one. There's just a lot of flavor in there. Really enjoyed that. This has similar flavors than this, but this is a little bit muted. It's not as vibrant as this one. So let's move that to number 2. Yeah, and that's got that strong bitter oakiness to it. So I think that's where we're at. We're 1, 2, and 3. So let's see what number 3 was. Number 3 was number 3. And so number 3 bottle was the Four Roses Small Batch, which is our high rye. Number 2 was our number 1, which was our traditional. And then number 1 was our wheated. Okay, so our high rye went from first to last. Our wheated went from second to first. And then what I'm finding is that second and third just bounces back and forth from traditional to wheated. And the high rye predominantly stays in first. But today my palate just wasn't having it, and it really connected with this. So, anyways, guys, keep sipping, keep trying things. Your palate will change with the time of day. Depends on what you've had to eat that day. Depends on the weather, humidity, temperature. It's a little windy today. I don't know, maybe that has something to do with it. But your palate will change, and that's why you want to do a long-term tasting. You want to stick with the bottles or in the categories. We're on our 1, 2, 3, 4, our 5th week of trying these bourbons. And so we're not in a hurry. We're going to take our time. We're going to have fun. We're going to talk about some fun, interesting facts about bourbon, but we're also going to be sampling and refining our palate. So, anyways, hope you guys have a great day. Keep walking down the path of discovery to define your palate. It's worth it. It's fun. You'll find that in the end, it really simplifies bourbon and makes it so much more enjoyable. Hope you enjoyed this time together. Stay safe, drink responsibly, and have fun.